The Dear Agency specializes in helping you understand your coverage before you need it. We offer all lines of personal and commercial insurance, including auto, home, and life. Contact Dawn Deere at 210-507-2169 and visit us at 7529 North Loop 1604 in Live Oak, Texas, or farmersagent.com/ddeer.
Are you pregnant and alone? You have options. The Sanctuary of Hope offers expectant mothers ages 12 to 22 a place to live, medical care, counseling, continued education, and options to raise your baby in a loving environment or help you with adoption. We want to help provide you and your baby with a bright future. Call us or email us today and let's walk through this together. 210-499-1554 or sohcares.org. All inquiries are confidential.
I Am Refocused Radio is brought to you by Documation, service that serves. Technology solutions to keep you moving forward. Visit nation.com today. You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shemaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shemaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here with a special guest, Reverend Dean Nelson. He is the Executive Director at the Human Coalition Action. You want to find more information, go to humancoalition.org. But today we're going to be talking about a recent interview that Reverend Dean Nelson had on Fox News. And it was all about Planned Parenthood, how they were wrestling with the founder's views. Margaret Sanger, she wrote a letter back in 1939. She wrote a letter to Dr. C.J. Gamble. And with this new recent update with a local clinic in New York, Reverend Dean Nelson, what is your reaction to their response trying to take her name down because of her views?
Well, first, thank you so much, bro, for allowing me to be on the program. I would say with regard to the New York City Planned Parenthood announcement that it's over 100 years too late. Margaret Sanger started Planned Parenthood back in 1919 or 1916, actually, in the New York City area of Brownsville. And when she started, her whole idea was really to try to depopulate, particularly poor and minorities, and that biggest target was Black people. So that letter that you referenced was a letter that she wrote to Clarence Gamble, basically stating that we don't want word to go out, that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Now, that letter was a little bit later, as you said, in 1939, but the reality is that for them now to try to come forward and say, yes, Margaret Sanger was racist. Yes, we do have a racist and eugenic past. But the reality is that the vision that Margaret Sanger set forth, even back then, still exists today.
And given their history, the reality of Planned Parenthood, what do you see is still the problem with the whole reality as far as their services and operation?
Yeah, well, Planned Parenthood loves to say that they want to provide services for women, and particularly women of color. But in reality, the service that they provide is abortion. So it could be argued that they are simply trying to put more surgical abortion facilities in Black and brown neighborhoods around the country to fulfill Margaret Sanger's diabolical plan. When you look at most of their surgical abortion facilities, almost 80% of them can be found in Black or brown neighborhoods. And so they may say, on the one hand, that their idea is to provide these services for women, but the primary service, if you look at their business model, Planned Parenthood gets roughly a third of their funding from the government. They get a third of their funding from private donors, mostly white elitists, and then they get a third of their funding from doing abortion on particularly Black and brown women. In that same city, New York City, where they first started and when they now have had their recent challenges, that city, more Black children are aborted than born alive in New York City. So I think Planned Parenthood can't divorce itself from the founder, Margaret Sanger, nor can they separate themselves from the vision to exterminate the black population, which she said in that letter, because that is exactly what they're continuing to do in urban communities around the country.
It was interesting. Earlier this morning, there was an article that was published about Sanger's mission. And going back in history, in her autobiography, she actually spoke to a KKK group expressing her views and how she wanted to push this forward with her mission for birth control. But like you said, she was pushing it towards minorities. And what are your thoughts with that being factual? This is not an opinion from anybody. This is actual history, facts. What do you think people, as far as the women in the communities in New York, what do you think their reaction is going to be? Do you think they're going to start to wake up and realize the truth? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to go back to what actually happened. So in their clinic in New York City, Planned Parenthood of Greater New York, which is a very large facility, part of the problem has been that they have, in the words of the women that wrote a letter, they basically have over the last few years been trying to get the attention of the board, basically saying that not only does Planned Parenthood have a racist founder, not only do they have, in their words, systemic racism in terms of how they have practiced reproductive health, but they went further to say that even now there still demands that Planned Parenthood as an organization has not lived up to as it relates to how they treat their black and brown employees. So the question that I think is important for us to ask is, if these are the employees that work for them every day and they don't treat them well, and those women state that they have racist policies and practices against them, then why should we think for any reason that they should treat black and brown women in their clinics around the country fairly? I feel like that the time has come for people to really pull off the mask, so to speak, of Planned Parenthood and recognize them for who they are, and for all donors, all corporate board members that are providing funds from their corporations to Planned Parenthood to ask the question, why are we still funding them? If black lives really matter and they have demonstrated that they have been racist since their history and some of those practices continue today, why are we still funding them?
That's a very interesting thing to think about, too, because to your point, Sanger's view from day one was clear. And I think that's something that people should definitely pay attention to. Now, transition to Human Coalition organization. You are the executive director, and you all have a mission to end abortion in America and to help educate the public. What's some of the things that the person listening to right now can learn about this organization and why it exists?
Yeah, man, thank you so much, because that really is the more important thing. For me, I've always been a person that is committed more to solving problems than, pointing out the problem. And so Human Coalition, in its 10-year history, has done just that. We are a technology-based nonprofit that engages with women around the country, providing them help and resources so that they can choose life for their preborn children, as well as put them on a path to independence instead of being dependent upon, government or whatever. So Planned Parenthood does not do the type of work that we do. The work that we do is service to women, and we do that through hope, innovation, and service. To give you an example, a woman who may be contemplating an abortion may find us online. They'll contact us at our contact center. They'll get a pleasant, kind person on the other line that is trying to help them to solve their problem. So if it is that they need a job, we will try to provide them with connections to jobs. If they need education, if they need financial assistance. So those are the type of things that Human Coalition, through our women's clinic and through our virtual telemedicine online service, provide for women who are seeking abortion. And we have hundreds, thousands of fantastic testimonies of women that say, I'm so glad I contacted you, didn't go to Planned Parenthood because now I have this beautiful baby girl or this beautiful baby boy. So Human Coalition does that. We do that in cities all across the country with brick and mortar clinics, like in cities like Atlanta, Georgia, or Cleveland, Ohio, Raleigh, North Carolina, Dallas, Fort Worth. But then we have a virtual program where we connect with women online through chats and on the phone, particularly throughout Texas. So we serve the entire state of Texas with our virtual program, again, providing the help that women need to make that healthy choice.
What is the most important thing that people can do today? If they're listening right now to this interview, we're talking to Reverend Dean Nelson, Executive Director of Human Coalition. What is that one thing that listener can do today to make a difference?
Well, man, there are a lot of things, but the one thing that I would say, because my new role is I serve as the Executive Director for Human Coalition Action. That means that we are part of a grassroots effort to push for pro-life policies in the legislature. So whether that is in Austin or whether that's in Washington, D.C. So I would encourage those that are listening to think seriously about this. We need to elect pro-life men and women that are willing to protect human life as opposed to pushing abortion into our communities. I believe that it is the civil rights issue of our day that we need to stand up and to provide help and healing for women who have participated with abortion in the past and to offer solutions for women who are contemplating that. And also not to forget men. Men are also have a role to play in this. But my encouragement would be we're getting ready to go into a busy election season, whether it's at the local level, whether it's at the state level, or whether it's at the federal level. We need to have people who are elected, both parties, who stand for the sanctity of human life.
And tying back to the beginning of our conversation in response to the local New York clinic to remove Margaret Sanger's name because of her harmful views. And what's interesting is she was the founder and she set this tone as a leader of that operation. What do you think citizens of America, their reaction will be as they learn more about Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, when you ask that question, bro, it reminds me of a young man several years ago that I met who saw a video, a documentary called Ma'afa 21 that we hosted. And he shook his head and he said to me, he said, man, I just never knew this. He said, I'm going to make sure that when I go to the voting booth, that I'm going to vote for a person that supports a pro-life position. He would further say, I want to also volunteer my time and my resources to help with organizations like yours that are doing positive work. And so I think that is the kind of response I expect to see from more Americans as they really recognize it. I would encourage people to, not just take my word for it, but to do a search, to watch the documentary Ma'afa 21, to visit, Human Coalition and Human Coalition Action website to get the testimonies of people who used to think one way, but now they've come to the realization after really reading and seeing the work that Margaret Sanger, was about. I think that it will open the eyes of people, and I think as I have seen many people make decisions differently about how they support candidates and about how they put their money into organizations that are pro-life rather than organizations that are pro-death or pro-abortion.
Once again, we've been listening to Am Refocused Radio, talking to Reverend Dean Nelson. He is the Executive Director of Human Coalition Action. You can go to humancoalition.org for more information. Once again, that's humancoalition.org. I want to thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to Am Refocused Radio. Anything you want to say to our audience before we depart?
Hey, man, I just want to say thank you to you for the opportunity to be on. God bless you. And just encourage people to visit us at humancoalition.org and HUCO Action to learn more about our fantastic organization.
Well, like we say on every single show, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.
Thanks for listening to I Am Refocused Radio, brought to you by Documation. Documation is a full-service technology solutions company that provides IT, print, and software managed services. Headquartered in San Antonio, Documation has been serving customers across Texas for nearly 30 years. Visit Mation.com today. Hi, San Antonio. Need a barber? Visit our good friend Rico Rodriguez, the owner of Rockefeller's Barbershop in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Road, and book your appointment today by calling 210-782-5188.